Imagine a simple clearing in a forest that people have been terrified of for centuries. It's a spot rumored to be so cursed that nothing will grow within a 40-foot circle on the ground. Dogs bark and whimper and won't go near it. Perhaps it was the site of a Native American burial ground. Or is it haunted by a huge shadowy beast? Some have said it's the devil himself who paces in a circle late at night, dreaming up evil he can foist upon the world. North Carolina has a tradition of great ghost and horror stories. One of the ones that I've heard my whole life growing up here is that of the Devil's Tramping Ground. Just looking at it without knowing its history, you might not think anything odd about this particular clearing. There does seem to be a sort of circular barren patch in the middle, with a ring of trees around it. But most versions of the legend say this is where the devil rises at night and tramps around, summoning demons and unleashing his mischief upon the world. Nothing will grow in the center of this circle, that's true. And it is said that items left within the circle overnight will disappear or be tossed out. A newspaper reporter from Greensboro camped overnight with his 2 dogs in the center of the circle in order to disprove the legend. Even he claimed he heard mysterious footsteps circling his tent in the night. There are numerous stories about this place. Some of them date back to when North Carolina was a British colony, or even earlier. It was believed by some colonists in the 1700s that the clearing was used by indigenous people for tribal dancing, perhaps war dances. Eventually, the colonists realized that not even the natives would go there, and that the tribes who had danced had left that area of Chatham County years earlier. So why then had the mysterious circle remained? And why would the tribespeople avoid this barren circle? Other stories claim this was once a burial ground, perhaps even that of the legendary chief Croatan. It has been said that Croatan and his tribe battled another tribe on this spot, and that he was mortally wounded in the fight along with several other braves. According to this story, the chief himself is buried underneath the circle, and thus the location took on his name. And here the legend ties in with the well-known mystery of the lost colony. When the English explorer John White returned to the island of Roanoke in 1590 after settling it a few years prior, he found the settlement entirely abandoned. The only clue as to what happened to the settlers was the word Croatoan scrawled into a nearby tree. Some now think that the settlers, with assistance from local tribespeople, may have migrated inland to the area that now surrounds this burial ground. The legend has not only persisted since then, but it has grown. A Wilmington newspaper referenced it in 1882 with an article in which a journalist visited the site, accompanied by a local indigenous man. The man became fearful and agitated when the journalist began digging into the soil, and the dig was abandoned. As oral and written accounts accumulated over the years, one thing has remained constant. The circle in the clearing has not changed. Nothing ever grows inside that circle other than some wiregrass that occasionally encroaches on the edges. Whenever people have tried to plant within this circle, the plants inevitably wither and die. By all accounts, this site looks exactly the same as it has for centuries. In the 1930s, stories began to circulate that a great black beast had been spotted, and on some occasions had chased dogs and hunters away. Could this have been simply a large, stray black bear, or had something more sinister been encountered? Soil tests conducted in the 1940s and 50s were either inconclusive or confirmed the sterility of the earth. However, no scientists at the time were able to confirm what caused this. It has been theorized since that this is the site of an old salt lick, and that the salt content of the earth is too high for plants to thrive. By the mid-1950s, the legend had become more popular, and the North Carolina Highway Patrol placed signs and markers to make it easier for people to find the remote location. This in turn fueled more interest, and by the 60s and 70s, newspapers around the state and the South were regularly running stories about it. This has continued ever since. Today, the Devil's Tramping Ground sits on private property. You may visit it with a reservation and a small fee, although the modern tramping ground has a website and an easy-to-book system. You can even register for overnight stays and camp on site if you dare. This place has obviously been a point of curiosity and fun for teenagers and young adults for years. There is broken glass everywhere, so be careful, especially if you bring dogs. It might be a fun visit if you're into this sort of thing. And if you're really brave, you might try the overnight stay. But if anything happens to you while you're at the Devil's Tramping Ground, don't say Geekorman didn't warn you. Please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you like my takes on creepy North Carolina legends and places. Thanks for watching.